Welcome back to the episode. So friendly reminder, like, comment, subscribe, greatly appreciated. We're on our hunt for 500 subscribers. We're hovering around that 420, 422 mark. Love to get to the 500 subscribers. So yeah, it's another reminder, like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate all the support. Well, yeah, that being said, welcome back. We are now a week away from our week from our last podcast. We were tied up, with the Knicks 1-1. Unfortunately, had a couple games not go our way. Now we're staring at a deficit, being down 3-1, 1-3, however you want to look at it. We're back in New York today. I am hoping that we can just avoid gentleman's sweep. I think if anything, it'd be great to pull out another dub. But we'll talk about games 3 and 4, that series overall, and then we'll dive in, the NFL draft. Brad, he came through with another just solid haul of talent that, we need just kind of beef up the trenches, both sides of the ball a little bit. A couple of Dan Campbell guys, they always, find their way, getting drafted, whether we reached it for them or, whatever that might have looked like. But yeah, that being said, we'll jump into that too, but want to kick it off with you, E, just see your thoughts on, the Pistons, kind of where they stand right now in the series against the Knicks. Working through some technical difficulties, it sounds like.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah, might be.
you good.
No, I'll say the simplest way for me to put this up would just be demoralizing. I coming in back in 1-1 after leaving New York, heading back into Detroit, first playoff game in LCA. I was rampant that we were going to get that done. I was rolling. I was feeling good about it. That game three, a nail biter. Back and forth. Each team came to play. What was it like 118, 116 at the end of it, and it came down to, I personally think, a blown call, but at the end of the day, it came down to an opportunity to stop them. We still had a chance to go and win that at the end of it, and it just didn't work out. So I think that was kind of a tough call. And since then, the next game, I I just no other way to put it. I went through so many emotions where I was just saying the NBA is fixed. They want Boston Knicks. It's all about the money. To damn, man, Cade should have had two opportunities to cash it and he missed it. To just thinking all some of them injuries. Damn, what if we had
Stewart, Ivy.
Ivory out here? What if we had Stewart out here? How much different would it be? So I kind of a wide range of emotions, but the the toughest thing to kind of swallow about this and the light at the end of the tunnel is we have been the better team through this entire series, minus a 5 minute stretch in game one, in two
Three
pretty important
possessions.
games.
Yeah,
Arguably, one of those should have went our way. So it really comes down to that 5 minute stretch in game one where the wheels fell off, and two, I personally think either way, one of those should have went our way just with pure luck. For whatever reason, luck, NBA got their own thing set in place. Whatever that is, it just didn't happen. But those are kind of the hardest things to swallow about this. And like I said, light at the end of the tunnel. And not jump too much into this next game, but I think this next game will show. I I don't want to say kind of the character we're built on, but I think it'll go one of two ways. We go out and give it our all. Cade goes for 40. Beasley, like you said, 4 or 5 threes. Tim comes to play. Tobias gives us another game one, game two
hmm
type performance, and we squeeze it out one way or another. Or we're gonna get Miami heated like they did last night, where our young boys already got their mindset on the summer, already got their mindset on
Better
Turks and
be
Caicos and
opinions
Cancun, and
yesterday.
yeah. So I kind of think that's going to show a little bit of kind of, not to say if we get blown out by 50, we're not a playoff team next year. But I think if we come and win this, that gives me a lot of hope that this team is built from a different cloth. Cade is built from a different cloth. He's not going to go out with a gentleman sweep. We're going to take it back to Detroit bare minimum, and make these guys sweat. So that's kind of the long and the short of how I feel about the whole situation.
For sure. I'm with you there. I mean, you hit on it, I think everybody's, seeing the calls, the backcourt, the no call, the three. We had talked about before we jumped on. Something that's kind of interesting is kind of watching our superstar, kind of like grow up in real time. And also, yeah, just kind of got a couple blunders. I think the biggest play that sticks out to me is when I always forget what the score was. I think the score was 106 to like 103. Cade went down, fumbled the ball,
Yep.
turned the ball over. Brunson come down, get a layup. Then all of a sudden it's 108, 103. Even though we were able to kind of extend that game and only lost by two and probably would have had a chance at a shot, if Durant didn't airmail it out of bounds over Cade's head. But yeah, I mean, I think, that and then, another play that, just comes to mind is, yeah, I mean, Cade had a shot. We were down one. He put a move on. Anunoby missed a shot. But I commend him that third quarter. I mean, we got hit with
I
an
was just gonna say that.
onslaught to like the middle of the second quarter through halftime. We were able to kind of, keep the game close. I think he's like one of the first players since like the 50s or the 60s, might have been in NBA history, to legit log like 12, 5, and 5, and
With three
3.
blocks. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 blocks, maybe a steal in there, all in like one quarter. I mean, he was doing everything. So like you said, as much as difficult as it was. I mean, I was literally here just sitting in silence, like muted the TV and everything Sunday after that. After that, how that game ended. As difficult as it was for these last couple games. First home playoff games since 2018. He's proud. He's proud of Cade. Like we got our doors blown off in that fourth quarter, game one. He turned around game two and was like, "I'm getting us. I'm leaving here with something." Essentially, what he said. Like we getting something. Just based on how we kind of let game one go. You already hit on the head too, missing Isaiah Stewart. I mean, I think we would have won this series handily if we just had Isaiah Stewart. You know, you had Tobias playing as hard as he could. Duran usually in foul trouble trying to guard Cat. So he's had like some matchup issues there, as the series went on. But yeah, we'll, like you said, it'll just kind of depend on how we, show up today. And I just feel like, as fiery as JB's been, I mean, he's probably telling people like, y'all better not be booking them flights,
Yeah.
looking at none of that shit
Yeah.
until
You ain't getting no
Tuesday.
refunds. No.
Yeah, but yeah, like until Tuesday after the games. We might be coming back here on Thursday or Friday, whatever it look like with another game. Hell, they come back Thursday, they might see me too. I might have to make the trip. They could bring it back to Detroit for game six. But yeah, we'll see what happens, man. Like as long as we don't, just don't want to see the 40, 50 point loss. Like the Heat went out, Memphis, kind of getting their doors blown off, that first, the first round series. Glad that we were able to steal a dub. Would love for us to, at minimum, steal another one and make things real interesting. Coming back to Detroit.
Yeah, I think we are. I It's hard to say because you sound foolish saying this, but I think all things considered, we are the better team.
Yeah,
We top down, 8-man, 9-man rotation. We're deeper. We can go star for star. It's just the cookie hasn't crumbled how we needed it to. And
yeah,
I people get mad at this, but I truly do think there is the NBA's entertainment at the end of the day. And I think if they could decide between like you said before we hopped on, the Knicks entire nucleus is built to beat the Boston Celtics. And Knicks Celtics is the NBA's wet dream. That now maybe in a couple of years when Cade has a couple more All Stars and we did this before, maybe we can hype up the Boston Detroit series. But I think all the chips in a row, you're gonna have people with characters like Stephen A. Smith shouting everything is gonna hype it all up. Knicks, Celtics, Celtics. And I think they're not gonna give us anything. Is what I'm trying to say. We can't if we're gonna go get another game in New York when they probably smell blood in the water when they want to get that cleared up because you said like Boston's probably going to get it cleared up tonight. You have to come to play, and it can't come down to the wire because they're making it perfectly clear they're not going to give you any breaks at all, whether it is the clear cut obvious call or whether it's up in the air maybe. The fact that I don't know, I should fact check this, but I heard it was under an hour after the game when the NBA said we blew that call. And so they didn't even have left the stadium yet. The clock is over.
yeah,
Let's go shoot 3 free throws. He can hit two of them bitches in some jeans. So
yeah.
it's like, I don't know what Tim is. Probably, I'm very safe to say, an 80+% free throw shooter. He would have knocked down 2 of them, and they would have lost with no time on the clock. And I think that the NBA just didn't want that to happen. So if we're going to get this done, we have to have that cushion built into it, and that means Cade has to come to play, and
Malik,
Malik definitely has to come to play.
we've
I
been
mean,
waiting
bring
on
it up
him
a
for about
spot.
3.5
Yeah, we have to
games.
throw all the dice or all the chips into the middle of it, and this is
Yeah.
your season. You can um extend this another game, and I think it you get talked about differently if you even extend one more game and then lose in Detroit the next week. I think it's hey, this young team's here to play. They
Hmm.
took the
Like
Knicks
I'm to
to
the
the
yeah. Like I'm to the point where it's
remember they
like,
blew that call. They blew a couple of them calls and they still went to game six. One of them things
yeah,
versus you gentlemen sweep. Hey, people forget about them calls. They wouldn't even get brought up. But if we take this to six, 7 games,
they'd be like,
make
hold on
Detroit
now.
even, and then people are going to look back and be like, damn, if we win it all, hey, this could have been over in 5 or 6 games plus Detroit if it would have been called right.
Hmm.
Or hey, they lost in 6, but two of them. Remember how two of them games ended?
Yeah,
You go get the brakes beat off of you, more or less. It's a flash in the pan. You look like the 14 game team that just kind of had a hot streak, for lack of a better
right.
term. And I know that's not what we are, but I'm hoping we can come to play, and take them to the brink. And then, you mentioned that third quarter. I just want to give another more praise to that. That third quarter, that's a MVP of the league type of third quarter. That's a best man in the game. Nobody can stop him type quarter, and that gives me tremendous amount of praise that and hope that he can replicate that. That one quarter turns into
Mhm.
two, which turns into a whole game. And this you look up and he has 44, 12, and 12. You're like, okay, this is
Yeah.
see the building blocks of what he did. So
He's had about the cleanest stretch. Like the shooting ain't always been there,
mhm.
but you want to pull up Jalen Green's numbers because they're gonna be compared to the end of time. But like even his bad games, 21, 11, and like 6,
Yeah.
you know, like he's done a great job. I think I'm kind of look at like Ants, playoff, first series, what his numbers looked like, just from like comparison. But he ain't really been, like I said, I feel like this whole series when he hasn't shot the ball well, it's just because it's like on him. He's been getting to his spots, no problem, for the most part.
Yeah, and
That's been
you
impressive.
got to give them a little credit. They're throwing many different looks at him. They're
Yeah.
throwing waves of defenders at him. Every dude they throw at him
Hmm.
is a 6'8", 220-pound freak.
Yeah, like
It's
all defense. Yeah.
um, and so I think he's becoming his own. He like he's maturing through this playoffs as we see. He's not crumbling and falling down where it's like, hey, I don't, he
Yeah.
that's not what's coming out of this. It's damn that one call, or damn this. So I think he's proven that he is him. And how the ESPN does this, but I've heard I think it was 100 points, 25 rebounds, 25 assists, or something like that. Ant and Cade are the only people that do that in the playoff series in under 25 since LeBron did it in '07 or something. It's like, so
Yeah.
every time you hear any of those stats, it's nothing but Hall of Famers. You don't see nothing, or future Hall of Famers on that list. You see,
Robinson, Jokic,
yeah,
Luca,
yeah,
like
yeah,
LeBron.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Bron, yeah,
Yeah.
going back to be like Oscar Robinson from the '60s, and then Bron and Luca. You're like, okay, those are all Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Good company to be in. And anytime you see some Piston stats, it's always first to do it since Grant Hill, first triple double since Isaiah Thomas. So I think
Yeah.
um, we,
Got
you said it a
next
while
American
back
born
heading into
MVP.
this. Sorry.
I was gonna say next American born MVP. You heard it here first. I think he's gonna end up getting it over Ant for some. I think it's just gonna happen.
Yeah,
I think it's going next couple of years. I think it's gonna happen.
I agree. Yeah, he's loading up one for sure, and I think um I just hope he can, put together this game here tonight, 7:30 versus the Knicks. I don't know. I guess you got a prediction for how this one goes.
That was the first I was gonna say. I can't.
Oh,
I gave the Villanova Knicks State credit when they graduated college. I can't give them more credit. They just now this is why I missed out the playoffs. Like now I just hate the Knicks. I can't wait for next season when we just get to play the Knicks. I know it's gonna be a little bit of squabbling going on, some pushing, shoving. But yeah, no, I think game five. I'm gonna throw it out there. I think Cade got a 35, 8-6 game in him. I think Beasley will hit some threes. I think Duran will do his thing, and I do think we'll call it on top. Be a close, maybe like 101-96, something like that. That'd be my
yeah.
score. Piss off
No,
Joe
I'm not.
Budden in the front row.
I'm actually right there with you. I think something along that lines. Cade's
Yeah,
gonna come to play. I think Beasley knows he hits five, six threes in here. He could probably add another million or two to his offer that we're gonna get. You go 0 for 10, you're gonna see a couple M's
like
off. So
yeah,
I
two
think
year 40 billion instead of a
yeah,
2 year
yeah.
50.
You extend this literally, you're probably adding 2, 3, $4 million to
Yeah,
your offer. Cade obviously locked in, but you're adding 2, 3, 400,000 Twitter followers,
yeah,
Instagram followers. You're becoming the next
yeah.
level of superstar if you win this. So I think that it, other than the team dynamics, I think individually people are have reason to be motivated. And
Hmm.
so Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway, both of them are ex Knicks. I think all of that comes into play for a game like this. And
Well, swinging.
yeah, yeah, keep it going. So, and I'm actually right there with you on that score, somewhere around there. Just to change it up a little bit, I'll say, like I said, we got to have that buffer in there in order, I think, for us to actually
For
pull this off.
sure.
I'm gonna say 107, 100.
Okay. Yeah.
Take it back to Detroit, and then we just rinse and repeat, go all in.
It'd be great if it was like 15-20 and they was pulling starters. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Trying to like save, the energy for the next game, and we just kind of out there like, you know,
Yeah,
y'all ain't gonna see the Celtics soon. Might not see them at all. So that'd be, yeah, that's
100%.
that's the goal. Is make it harder on them, make them play another game while Boston sit at home and with their feet kicked up, waiting to beat the Knicks in three. So I'm already praying on their downfall. We still got them in front of us tonight, but
Yeah, no, but how bad we got this last thing I'm saying, how bad we got cheated. I've never rooted for the Celtics in my life, and I'm rooting for a 4-0 sweep
yeah,
if we
that like
get it. Like I want them to
I'm
beat the
like
dog
I'm
shit out of
hoping
us.
Jason Tatum has a
Yeah,
all.
boot on the neck for 4 games if they
Yeah,
can get us. Yeah,
like average of 15, 20 a game. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. But yeah, we'll shift gears here. Haven't done a lot of football, been a little busy. I'd say just from a fun perspective, more basketball season has probably been the most successful it's been. I think both Pistons and Michigan since about 2018, 19. If you want to talk about Detroit kind of being a little behind just from getting back to being relevant. But yeah, draft went on this weekend. Um, yeah, like I said earlier, Brad and Dan got them a haul. Started off with Tyleik Williams. He's a Buckeye. We gotta put that to the side. He never beat Michigan. We're gonna put that to the side. He's gonna put it to the side.
I'm not gonna mention it.
Yeah, but even though he never beat Michigan, we're gonna forget about that. But we're glad, to have trenches prioritized. Second round got Tate Ratledge, guy that, and I'm pretty sure he won, two natties while being at Georgia, plug and play kind of guy. And we got a hometown hero, Isaac Tesla. Got it with an emphasis on the S. It's capitalized on here, so Tesla. That's I think that's the one draft pick a year that we all kind of scratch our head with. But yeah, rounded out with another guy from the SEC, old lineman. Got a nice little D lineman from Boise State. Couple got other guys from Georgia, safety and a wide
This
receiver.
baby hits 88 miles per hour.
But yeah,
Good.
want to just see your thoughts, E. What would be the letter grade that you would give out for the Lions draft this year?
Yeah, so as a whole, I would separate in two categories. Um, First round, second round, I'm more than happy with. I think I do think we need an edge, but what they did as far as like before we hopped on, that O line, couple of those guys are ticking. They've been on our in the NFL for 10, 12 years,
Okay.
maybe a half a step slow, maybe a whole step slow in some cases. And I think with what we want to do as far as pounding the rock, keeping Gibbs and Montgomery busy in the backfield, we have to ramp up that O line. So drafting the mullet man fits right in with as far as that goes. The idea of him and Sewell next to each other. I mean, those are two units out there on that offensive line. So just that's one I'm more than happy with. Defensive line, I think I personally think we probably needed an edge a little more, but I understand with some of the injuries and the timeline as far as getting them guys back. And you mentioned we could do some salary cap manipulation to get rid of Reader and things that I didn't necessarily know of. So there's definitely a more of a chess move for some of these pieces. But both of them I'm more than happy with. I would even go like call it a B plus, B plus, A minus, somewhere in there. I think both of them guys are exactly what you should get out of your first and second round picks. Starters, key contributors. Um, uh, Talik Williams is probably a day one starter. Should more than likely a day one starter, if not going to get a
If
vast
he,
majority of the snaps. Um, and then Tate is going to be highly rotational, if not a
yeah.
starter by the end of the year. And, sorry.
One cool nugget I was going to share. Sounds like he's going to be uh, doing a little bit of work at center as well.
Okay. I like that as well.
Um,
Yeah. So versatile as far as that, keeping
Ragnar,
keeping
he
a Swiss
always do
Army
for.
knife going on the line is never a bad thing. Where
Mhm.
something happens, you got to move, plug and play, move a guy over here, so and so.
Yeah.
That's never a bad thing as well. So no, I'm all happy about that, and the fact that they're even I forget exactly what it was, but I read that he played right guard for 14 games. He played left guard for 30 games there. He's been moved around in
Hmm.
Georgia as well. Obviously going against countless future NFL players down in the SEC. So he's battle tested. We know all about Ohio State championship run. You know, I don't want to mention it. Battle tested, good character guys, been on winning programs. All of that's true. What I'm really going to signal out of is what we did in the third round. That third round, is baffling to me. I don't understand the Isaac Tesla draft pick. I think if he would have been sitting there in the third round and we took him just with one pick, I still would have been scratching my head. To give up essentially three picks in it as a whole to get him, you traded two and you took him.
Locked.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I think that's a big haul for a guy that has like 900 career D1 yards. I think that is a big gamble, especially with how well we have drafted in third round. Whether it's Kirby Joseph, who just signed a massive safety deal, led the NFL in picks. Um, St. Brown was a third or fourth round pick. So I think we've gotten Pro Bowl players, NFL leading players in that third round pick, and I don't know if that's the place where I personally would gamble on a guy that um just kind of raw, for lack of a better term. He transferred up from D2. I heard he played quarterback at D2. And then he had to go and learn receiver. So all that stuff is, you could look at it as a plus, glass half full, glass half empty guy. Glass half full, um, he's versatile. He just started learning the position. He doesn't know the nuances of it. Glass half empty, he just learned the position. There's
Yeah.
guys who've been playing receiver since they were 6 years old. They know they have, and I think he tested off the charts with the Riz score, RAS score, whatever it's called. He tested off the charts on that.
Yeah.
And I think that showing up in a jersey that you had in eighth grade for Lions stuff. I think he kind of he packaged himself well and sold himself well. But just because you can run a fast 40 and are 6'4" and 220 doesn't mean you can go play receiver.
Yeah. I
Um,
was, I was kind of laughing because like brands kind of go at risk.
Riz,
It's like
yeah. I actually thought that's what they were
that's
saying low key for a while. So that's
like
the one I'm gonna single out. I think him personally, and that move, that trade as a whole, everything involved with him, I would give like a D minus, which I think is weighing down. If we chart everything,
yeah.
um, first and second round picks, let's say like a B plus. Him D minus. The rest of that draft, I'll probably go back to like a B minus. So all that saying, I think that's just a major haul to give up for him. And I think we don't want to look too much forward, but next year we're gonna be sitting here in the third round, and I can't think of somebody, but somebody we want is gonna be sitting there, and we can be like, damn, those were our picks. Like
Yeah.
whoever that might be, the Nico Collins of next year's draft, the Kirby Joseph of next year's draft. We can be sitting there, damn, we could have both of them boys. But Tesla had, 140 receiving yards this year. I think it's like it's going to be hard to swallow. So that's kind of
Yeah.
no other way to put it. I think that's a bonehead decision. I think that's trying to be the smartest guy in the room versus going with the proven product.
Yeah. I mean, I think my grade would be right to be, B plus range as well. First, second round, I'm right there with you as far as those picks. That's pretty much how I wanted the draft to go. I think, the third round, I'm with you. I think it's head scratcher. I think, and I'm also somebody that likes to like almost like hoard all these draft picks. And I don't know. And I think first thing that kind of mind to me is like, is he like foreshadowing something? Like, are we gonna be is somebody be getting traded? To get a couple of these picks back because somebody's gonna be the odd man looking, odd man out. Unfortunately, for when these extensions start to come up, and I was kind of looking at like J-Mo and Hutch both got their options picked up. Be interesting to see who ends up getting a extension, whether it's both of them or one of them, but time will tell. But yeah, I'm with you. I think we got a guy that look good in shorts. We've come over here and preached about how we're not crazy about the guys that look good in shorts. You almost just want to take the guys that go to the Big Ten. We look at what we see on television every Saturday. It's the Big Ten, it's the SEC. Much more prefer talent, especially like edge talent or somebody that might have been able to fill in at a spot of need that we've kind of been not really all addressing all that well. We're kind of addressing with like band-aids, since Brad Holmes has been here. But yeah, I think everybody after that, fourth, fifth round, or yeah, I think we had like 2/5, a sixth and a seventh or something like that. Probably is going to be supercharged up special teamers, that we I think that'll kind of like be their ceiling. If anything, we got some guys that know how to win. Got some guys that are at least successful in that category. A couple captains, I'm sure, kind of thrown in there. So we'll kind of see what happens. I do feel like you know, would have definitely. I mean, we did get the edge, the guy from Boise State, but there are some guys that there is a list of them that I ended up finding on Twitter. Would have liked to be able to get that one twitchy edge that we can just glamour and celebrate for the next 3 to 4 years, but maybe next year Brad will get us that edge rusher that we finally the one that we looking to get so bad. But other than that, yeah, I think we addressed what we needed to address first and foremost, and that was the trenches.
Yeah, I think just to go back to what you said, I think Hutch without a doubt is going to get the extension.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of assuming he's. I mean, I think ultimately he should go back to 100% and then still continue to into his prime. But assuming he's even 80% of who he was this year, most of this year, I mean, that's still 10, 12 sacks on a low end. So he's getting that extension. J-Mo, the more I look at it, it seems like he's expendable. It seems like they just don't really, as much of a difference maker as he is, as much of an X factor. I feel like they think he's a little just interchangeable.
So I feel like it might kind of be like, got all these guys, and I hate to say it, it's like who's giving headaches where? You know what I'm saying? Like that might kind of be the deciding factor. Like I love J-Mo, but that, it might kind of come down to some stuff like that as far as just who to pay and who not to pay.
Yeah, and I remember I've came off the J-Mo pick a little bit because he's had very great seasons, great moments, or he had a great season, and he's had many great moments. I mean, he had 1,000 yards this year, missed 2-3 games due to some random BS. I think he had like 600 or 700 yards the year before that. So he obviously
popped off in the conference championship.
Yeah, and countless reverses and things of that nature. I do think there is a little bit where he's replaceable, especially for the money. But I think that's when he's replaceable if you go and do like I had to pull it up. I forgot. There's like 3 guys that went in the receivers that got drafted after the Tesla guy. I'm without a doubt, I'm willing to bet all of those guys have better years this upcoming year than him. And I think I'm just really sold on the fact that how gamble and how risky that was. And go for the sure thing.
But we don't know it's sure until they put the pads on.
Yeah. When he had pads on, he had 500 yards. But Josiah Stewart, who we obviously are tremendously biased towards, watched him probably play 90% of his college snaps. I didn't miss very many plays.
Feels like a plug and play guy.
Yeah. He's disruptive. He got drafted by the Rams at the 90th pick. So assuming everything would have played out very similar, we could have moved up 12 spots, probably kept at least one of those 3s. I think we probably could have moved up 12 spots for like a 4. Go ahead and lock him up. Then I think our D-line is fierce. And then you really load that up and you can go get, there's always a Tim Patrick available on this couch that just needs another leg. There's always a DJ Sharp that just needs another little opportunity. Now some of those work out, other ones don't. But I think you're not going all in on that, and also you're investing in what you know works, and that's defensive line. Look at what the Eagles did. You invest in that defensive line, you invest in that run game, good things happen for you. And I think that's the difference maker. If you can, especially with the division we're in and how the Bears look like they're bare minimum going to be dynamic and bare minimum going to find a way to put up points. You know that's what they're going to do. Yeah, I feel you. It's fuck them. But at the end of the day, they look stout across the board. They got a couple of new offensive linemen. We know Loveland, talking about a guy who hasn't reached his full potential. Loveland, when have you ever seen a number one receiver on a team be a tight end? And he probably legit had what, 2/3 of all of our receiving yards this year. So I think
it was funny because he went first, but only Michigan fans were like, "Yeah, that makes sense." Everybody else was like, "It should have been Warren," but we're like, "No, y'all will see."
Yeah, if he would have had another year if he would have had any other receivers out there or another year with JJ, it would have been no doubt that he's the best tight end in the league. Downfield blocking, one hand catch. So I'm saying our division is filled with guys who you need to stop. And I think I just feel like I would have loved to see Josiah Stewart in a Michigan jersey. And you can't, and obviously we can talk about this now, but you go back even a couple of years. I mean, we could have arguably the best defensive line in history if we would have if we would have got Jalen Carter, if we would have went and still got Hutch, if we would have Josiah Stewart this year, then you could put whoever the fuck else you want out there, regardless. Talik, Reader, whoever. I mean, then you're looking at a guy that D line is stout. You're getting